everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog. Along with Jeff Kolpack, I'm Izzo. Into the grind of this 2015 regular season, North Dakota State off an emotional and crazy win last Saturday against Northern Iowa, 31-28. Now sitting 2-0 in the Missouri Valley, and already the heavy hitters off the schedule. Jeff, I guess I start with, do things open up? I won't say easier, but now with SDSU and UNI off, and knowing Youngstown's down the road, I guess I'm asking, does it get a bit, can they not put the foot off the gas pedal, but relax a little bit?
Let me take it from here. Here's what I'm going to look for at NDSU this week. That you start with the UND game, because that was a rivalry game. Then you go into the Dakota marker game, and that was a rivalry game. But I think the biggest rivalry game of them all was last week with Northern Iowa. That was a hard-hitting game. It was an emotional game. The way they came back was an emotional game. And that's 3 games in a row that you just have to get up and get up and get up. Now, all of a sudden, here comes South Dakota, which is average. It's average in everything. There's nothing about South Dakota you look at and you go, okay, that could maybe do some damage here or there. Nothing horrible by no means, but you look at the team, I mean, they're right in the middle of every stat in the FCS. They're around 70th or 75th. And you look at NDSU, their third down defense, they're number 1. South Dakota's 78th. You look at time possession. NDSU leads the country in time possession. South Dakota is 79th or something like that. So it's just, I think those are 2 big stats.
This series has been one-sided since USD came into the Missouri Valley in 2012. NDSU has outscored the Coyotes over the last 3 years, 143-7. And they finally scored a touchdown against the Bison last year, and that hadn't happened until the third quarter of that game in Vermillion. This has been as one-sided as anything I can remember. And talking about conference opponents.
And that came against the vaunted 3-4. Yes. Now South Dakota has switched to the 4-3 this year. We'll see what kind of difference that has made. But NDSU has just made the plays. There was a great interception by DeLuca. By the way, his first start.
Correct.
That was to me what cemented last year's game at Dakota Dome when he picked that off, and I think it was over after that.
You also, I remember after the game, and also Archie Herzendowski with the first of many great touchdown receptions was this one in the corner of the end zone as they beat South Dakota last year 47-7. But Joe Glenn, the head coach, now in his 4th year, he said after the game that NDSU can go wherever they want and get whoever they want. What do you make of that statement?
Well, I know at least 2 or 3 players that I think Joe had a good handle
Those 2 we just saw, by the way, Herzendowski and DeLuca.
And then Darius Shepard.
Yeah.
Darius Shepard actually verbally committed to South Dakota. NDSU came in a little later, and Shepard took the Bison offer. But I know he wanted DeLuca, Herzendowski. Those are
no-brainers.
Yeah, and you got to remember, South Dakota it's pretty close to Omaha. And Joe Glenn obviously loved to have that Omaha connection in that area. I don't think it's happened to the degree that he needs it to.
Kevin Earl, the starting quarterback for the last couple of years for the Coyotes, had to end his football career back in July after a recurring back injury. So now they're going with Ryan Seeger, who's the quarterback. His completion percentage is only about 53%. Now, USD did go on the road, Jeff, and win at Cal Davis. I know Davis is not having a very good year, but still to go and win. They beat Drake at home and then have lost their first 2 Missouri Valley games to Youngstown State and then also this past weekend to Western Illinois. So what kind of team do you think we're going to see coming into the Dome on Saturday?
I also thought they played pretty respectable against Kansas State. And that wasn't a total blowout like maybe it would have been 2-3 years ago with this team. Again, are they going to wear the chrome helmets?
I don't think we're seeing them on Saturday.
I look at the team. NDSU is going to have to turn the ball over again, and they were susceptible last week to it. Their turnover margin isn't great. They haven't exactly lit the world on fire getting points off turnovers.
No. They finally got 2 interceptions last week with Smith and Dempsey and turned that into points for the first time all season. But Trevor Bauma, the running back for USD, number 21, he's a guy to watch for. He's a good running back, run for 341 yards and 6 touchdowns. And the Bison are a bit beat up after this game with Northern Iowa. Starting center Austin Cooner will not play. That means Zach Zemer is into the lineup. And I'm curious to see who else plays. Lance Dunn probably won't go. He's still battling a hamstring injury. Bruce Anderson got a few more carries this past weekend against the Panthers.
I like Bruce Anderson.
He was really good, I thought.
think he's coming on. I think here's a kid who is a true freshman that when he first got in the lineup, maybe, when your first game's at Montana, that's not easy. That's not an easy thing to do. you can see when true freshmen really make an impact, I think. And you can talk to Colton Hegel about this. You know, he didn't really hit the lineup until his 6th, 7th game of his true freshman year. Now is the time. Now, you know, Robbie Grimsley's getting into that
and he's been
6th,
really
7th
good
game.
too.
But I think he needs to be more consistent.
Yeah.
I still think there's times he's probably not in the right spot. But Bruce Anderson, a running back, maybe now he's not afraid to take somebody on, perhaps, like he can.
We saw that against Northern Iowa on Saturday. Grimsley the same way. I mean, he had a sack. He almost forced a sack against South Dakota State. But you're right, the big play has still been susceptible in the Bison secondary that Chris Kleiman's pointing right at. If we're not better than that, South Dakota will beat us and they'll score on us.
Well, and that was C.J. Smith. Once in a while, you're going to get one-on-one. You know, you're going to beat one-on-one.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I mean, it was a good throw. Give Northern Iowa credit.
Absolutely.
It was the right throw in the right situation.
I want to get a few minutes here on what Carson Wentz has done so far this season. 14 touchdown passes. His first 2 interceptions came in the last game against Northern Iowa. He's ran for 5 scores.
19.
I mean, we're talking 19 touchdowns in 5 games. If that's not a finalist for the Walter Payton, I don't know what is.
Well, you know, when you put the watch list out and all those things like that,
and he wasn't on it.
And he wasn't on it. And did we not go through this with Brock Jensen too?
Correct.
Is there a lack of respect on the national landscape for quarterbacks at North Dakota State?
You could at least make the argument in Jensen's case that his numbers weren't gaudy. These are gaudy. 19 touchdowns. What else has the guy got to do?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't. His completion percentage, Jeff, by the way, is 65%.
You're the god of pick'em lately. You tell me.
I'm not quite sure. If he's not a finalist when this comes out at the end of the month, I don't know. I'm not willing to pull my vote, but I'm willing to withhold it because that's unbelievable.
And he's also got the wow factor. He's got that Mel Kiper stat to him. I think FCS should have hitched your wagon to these guys, you know, and they get you more notoriety as a subdivision. I would throw him out there right away. I would throw that draft stuff in there. I would throw the pro prospects.
Kiper said it on Saturday during SportsCenter. Projected 2nd or 3rd round pick. The way he's playing right now, there's nothing to say that he won't be a day 2 selection come April for the NFL draft. Let's look at this weekend's games. Illinois State back on the road at Missouri State. Boy, the Bears have just really been
everything.
Not good on defense so far. Southern Illinois and Indiana State. The Jacks play at Youngstown. And here we go again. I said it last week. I thought it was pretty close to a must-win for the Jacks. They got by Indiana State. I think it might be again this week with Youngstown.
Either one, yes.
I agree.
Youngstown and all the heavy hitters are playing right away. And, you know, we've said that last couple of weeks that we'll see how it shakes out. We'll find out early.
How about Western at Northern Iowa? Because here's Northern Iowa, already bar none, played the hardest schedule in the country, and now here comes 2-0 Western Illinois. You can argue and say, okay, Western beat Southern Illinois and USD, but still, I think they've been, and they only lost by 7 to Coastal.
And how many times have we seen a team after they play the Bison not play up to their potential because you throw so much into playing a 4-time defending champ or a 3-time defending champ. I mean, you throw so much into that game, and plus NDSU is a physical team.
Yes.
They'll beat you up. You'll feel it afterward. So to get up the next game, we've seen it time and time again where a team just doesn't play up to its potential.
Are you putting UNI on upset alert here?
There's no doubt they're on upset alert.
I want to get a quick word here before we go on the subdivision as a whole, because here we are, we're entering week 7, so we're halfway, a little more than halfway home here. It looks like to me there are a couple really good teams. I don't think anywhere where NDSU was last year or the year before were an elite team and then some really good ones. I think there's some really good ones that anyone could beat on a particular Saturday when we get to the postseason.
Well, now that you're doing
bracketology,
underway.
Yes.
It's underway. I think you're saying there's more than 10 teams, perhaps.
I think there's some teams in the mix that could go and win a game on the road. I think that could. I don't know about in Fargo, but I think there's some teams that could go and say they can knock off a team. Look at what happened to Montana.
I do know ranking these teams has been a chore
really
the
hard.
last couple of weeks.
I will point out, though, Montana and Villanova both lost their standout starting quarterbacks.
Yep.
The Wildcats are out of both of our polls, and Montana is sinking, obviously, after having Brady Gustafson out with, we don't know yet, the exact injury, what Bob Stitt won't reveal on that. Big week of coverage coming up for NDSU and USD, of course. Kolpack and Izzo will be live at the Dome, 9 to 11 on Saturday morning. The Bison pregame show will come up at noon, leading up to a 2:30 kickoff between North Dakota State and USD. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. That's the latest Bison Video Blog.